They say we should have known better than to fall so deep down into this rabbit hole.
Get
we found.
ready. It's time again to venture down the rabbit hole into the world of cybersecurity. You're plugged into the podcast for security leaders and practitioners with a business sense. Prepare for unique interviews, insights, and practical advice that makes your job just a bit easier. And now, please welcome your guides on this adventure, James Jardine and the White Rabbit, Rafal Loose.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome down the Security Rabbit Hole to yet another edition of the Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast, a very special edition of Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast. And before I jumped in too far, I wanted to, I know a couple of you guys have asked, because I've hinted that I've started using a new platform to record. And I want to just let everybody know, and I suggest you check it out if you're thinking about running your own podcast, if you're thinking about doing some recording. The app is called Boomcaster, and it finally, you know how you guys were always annoyed that we had just crappy recordings, like, three people on, one person would always be lagging and all that. They've solved that. So the way they've solved that is it always records locally, 4K video, HD audio, as long as your PC or Mac allows that, and then streams it all and saves it in separate streams. It's freaking awesome. Anyway, boomcaster.com, give it a shout. Tell them I sent you. We've been using it for a bit, and it's awesome. But this episode, James, is we're going to do something a little different for you guys. Yeah, well, you know what? I think I decided that we're coming up on a decade of this show, and over 400 episodes that you and I have worked together on this, James. And maybe it's just time to just go back and reflect. Just chat them, talk amongst yourselves, and some coffee. We'll talk. No big whoop. So coffee, talk. Let's go do it. How you doing, man?
I was gonna say, I'm doing good, man. You know, it's funny you think like 400. I'm looking at now at the website, right? 454 episodes released.
Yeah.
And when I joined back, it was March 25th of 2013 was my first episode as a newscast. So for me, just a little over 8 years ago, and it's amazing where we come. We got video.
We're doing video now, and we've been messing with like live stream stuff. I got to figure out how to do that and find like times when people actually want to tune in and stuff. But the video is actually pretty interesting. It clearly is a little bit more drained on my time because I got to sit here and actually edit this stuff. But it's fun. This podcast.
Don't give away the secrets that we didn't edit before. It was don't say anything bad, and just hopefully don't screw up so we don't.
There's been a couple of episodes. In the beginning, I used to go through and edit all the ums and ahs and and then realize that I spent about an hour and a half just editing those things in a single stream. And now, when you've got multiple pieces of audio, I just don't feel like doing that. I mean, I haven't, to be fair.
It's too much. It's not as real. It's not as real. We want it to be natural. I mean, should we create an algorithm that would take likes out? Like that would be awesome. Like, what I mean?
If we did that in modern speech, I think you'd lose.
Most discussions would be similar to a baseball game. You know what I mean? Take out all the extra stuff and just do the pitches. And, like that 3-hour baseball game is really like a minute and a half worth of baseball. Same thing with our presentations. You got a 60-minute slot, but you only need 10 minutes because we're going to pull the likes out.
Right.
I know I'm not going to get likes for this, but
look, we're not here to. I think it's fair to say that we've been fairly truthfully talking for quite a bit, man. I think I stopped doing that somewhere even before. I think you jumped on board, and we used to have the alternating like newscast. We talked about news, and we had a guest, and that was fun. But like talking about the news is exhausting. First off, and second off, there's already plenty of shows that do that, and like Security Weekly and those guys literally do that that's their show,
right?
So there's no sense in duplicating it.
Yeah, I think, I like the idea of doing the newscast just because I think there's stuff you can take from it. And you know what I mean? And unfortunately, I think over the years, most of the people that do newscasts on the news is, I don't know, it's the typical historical security review, right? Like, you screwed up. I'm a Monday morning quarterback, and you could have done all this stuff better. And let's point all the wrong things, versus being able to take that story and spinning it into a different pattern,
Right.
to be able to say, hey, this is what happened. What can you go out and do to try to help make sure that you don't do
Right.
this or fall victim to this? And nobody really does that. It's more of a, hey, let's point out and, laugh at that guy for screwing up.
I think I took a hard stance against this whole victim shaming, victim blaming thing ages ago. I still believe that. I don't say I'm not going to go back to it. I'm not going to go back on that. People get breached, crap happens. It gets real for everybody. And those that believe that you're somehow special because you've done more of the security things, I challenge you to go try, look at your logs sometimes. There's nobody's impervious. It's funny. People are like, how'd you get this thing started? And there was the entire catalyst for this whole thing was a conversation. It was the hashtag SECBIZ. I can't remember who I started this conversation with, but somebody, the original, like, if you're really thinking about this, and if you've been with us the entire time, then you may even remember the conversation. I think it was over maybe Memorial Day or Labor Day. It was one of the I think it was Memorial Day. Going into Memorial Day on a Friday, we were ending. Somebody asked a question, or somehow we got into this, like, would you rather have a security lead that is came over from the business or up from the technical ranks? And then this debate started. And I remember saying, this would be great. We should just record this and post this. And there were so many good podcasts at the time: Security Justice, Exotic Liability, and those. But a lot of those you really couldn't listen to at the office.
Right.
So I thought, maybe there's an opportunity here. Let's be office friendly. Let's provide some value beyond just the cathartic conversation about how broken everything is and how screwed we are, which, by the way, is still useful as therapy. But I think that's where the original genesis of this was. And then we just started recording. And I thought, hey, this is kind of fun. And then I've been using it as an excuse to go talk to some interesting people that wouldn't talk to me otherwise.
Right.
Like, we had Dan Gear on the show. We had the Right Honorable Baroness Neville Jones, who was David Cameron's cyber czar, which, by the way, someday, I wish there was video of this. It was at ISSA International. I can't remember which one it was, but she gave a keynote. And she comes off stage, and, me being who I am, I'm like, I'm just going to go say hello. And I go to stick my hand out. And as my hand comes out, I realize there's, guys in black suits that are looking like they're about to draw a gun on me. I was like, oh, hello. No, that's not what's happening right now. And then, I got a room. They set up for me. She agreed to be on the show to talk, security things and policy and such. It was a really good episode. Go back and, I have to go look this up. What episode was that? Let's see.
The search isn't that great out there.
So it's not even. It's one of our many unnumbered episodes, but it is October 26th of 2013. Is a feature cast. The Right Honorable Baroness Neville Jones on cybersecurity. The episode where the White Rabbit almost became shot. But but like stuff like that where you just get to talk to some awesome people, right?
Well, not even just the awesome people, but because I was thinking of, like, when we went to Infuse back in 2017, we got to talk to Teresa Payton, and lots of cool people there. It's been amazing. And what was it? Just recently we talked to. I think we had on, like, the Attorney General at some point, like way back. But who did we just have recently that's in a similar type of role, like leads like cyber?
Hold on, I'm gonna look this up. That was. She was the Nevada state's attorney. Man, I'm going to figure this out. I'll figure this out. It was definitely in the low hundreds, maybe.
Oh, we had this. Who was it? Lonnie Price. Remember Lonnie Price?
Lonnie was recently,
State Department.
That was an awesome show.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, that was recent.
So many things I wish we could have asked on that in that episode, but I know I couldn't.
Yeah.
So, there's lots of those. Well, you know what's funny? I just realized I looked up cyber insurance because by the time you guys are listening to this, the episode with Shawn Tuma and Shawn, oh hell, the other Shawn that's in
the other Shawn, the Shawn that spells his name right, I think is what he said.
Shots fired. This is now posted, but the first episode we did on cyber insurance is 172. The truth on cyber insurance. So December 7th, 2015, we were talking cyber insurance. Okay. I feel like I want to say like, you heard it here first.
I know it was interesting, when we were getting ready to do this, I started going back, looking through a bunch of the episodes and, minus the fact that it took me 10 minutes to be able to scroll down to the bottom to get back to the first couple episodes. It was interesting seeing things that are still hot topics today. You talk about threat management, threat and vulnerability management, right? Which we had an episode, way back 114, which was 2014. Talking about threat and vulnerability management, also talking about like supply chain. Oh, right. Executive order on supply chain.
If only there was a podcast that had warned you about some of this.
Episode 74 back in 2014 with Chris Weisopel, we talked about supply chain.
Oh, that's right. Software
some of that
supply
stuff,
chain.
Right? I mean, yes, like it was.
I found the episode. So it's called A U.S. Attorney's Perspective on Cybercrime. It's episode 64. It's from October 20th, 2013. Sabrina Fev, I think is how you pronounce her name, Feve. So she was the assistant U.S. attorney, AUSA, for Southern District of California, specializing in hacking and cybercrime. That was an awesome one. If you guys have not listened to that one, dig back in. It's number 64. That one's awesome. I still remember that one.
We're going to have to go through this and listen back and pull all these references so you can put them in the show notes nobody reads.
I know, right? This drives me crazy. Listen, I felt it relevant when I started thinking about this to put together like the bullet points and high level things of each show. So you can go find like, I heard this topic once. And maybe that's the only reason you guys, I know some of you guys read show notes because the website does get hits and itself directly. And some of these pages get a bunch. And so it's very interesting how some of this trends, but man, there's so many. Episode 182, Apple versus the FBI. Remember that?
Yep.
It's been yeah.
There's been some really interesting cases that we've seen kind of flow through over the past years. Thinking even back, like you had that. I was just thinking the other day about the St. Jude
pacemaker
case that was going on, right? With Muddy Waters and all that stuff and everything that was around that. Just crazy stuff that's happened.
James, what do you think the first time we talked to our pal Shawn Tuma was?
I'm going to go with, when did you say cyber insurance was? 2015? 2014 then.
February 5th, 2013. And if I simply look up his last name, all right, if I look up Tuma, assuming we haven't like forgotten to put him in show notes, including the most recent episode 454, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Tuma, you've been on 20 episodes. I feel like you need an executive producer credit at this point.
I don't know why he's not. I feel like we're missing him on the screen right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Shawn, you should be here, buddy. Get your butt back here. But
this is why he's listed as friends of the show on the page.
Exactly. So let's see. Let's see. What was episode 100? I started doing this stuff. Like episode 100 was with a guy you may have all heard of. He's the one and only legendary Dan Gear. That was a fantastic episode. It's kind of funny. I caught up with him a couple of years ago at a conference. So I think I actually ran into him at maybe Black Hat or something. Yeah, it was a Black Hat. He was going to a party with somebody, and I said, "Hey, we got to get you back on the show at some point." I said, I'm just kind of curious. What do you think has changed? He looked at me and goes, I've gotten older. And like, that's stuck with me, like what's changed in God knows what, 10 years or something.
Yeah.
Not 8 years. And so he was on episode 100 in 2014. So maybe 6-7 years later, what's changed? Gotten old? Nothing, basically nothing.
I don't know. I would disagree with that, though. I think there's a lot that's changed. Especially, I mean, I focus on the AppSec side. I think a lot's changed. We look back. We talked about in 2018. That wasn't even that long ago, right? Because we didn't actually start talking about software security for a long time. I think maybe 2015 we had Software Security Reloaded when we talked about 150. It was episode 154. But in 2018, we're talking testing security in. And how the main focus of software security is we do pen testing, like we test for it.
Yep.
And I don't know, I think we've seen a lot of change in that. You've seen a lot of organizations that have really embraced security from an application security side that are doing much more than just testing security in. So I think from there we've made a lot of gains. In the other areas, I feel like we're still kind of spinning the wheel.
Yeah, in a lot of cases. Yep.
I mean, we talked industrial control systems back in 2013, and it's kind of now swinging around to be, oh wait, this is a problem,
right? Hey,
right?
I feel like we ended up, I don't want to say pioneering, but we did tackle some of these topics ages ago that I always thought was like, oh man, we're so, the industry's so far behind, and almost 10 years later, you go, yeah, we're still kind of there. Funny enough, one of my favorite guests in terms of the personality and lightly relevant to cyber is a guy named Tom Nichols. If you've not seen episode 234 or 400, Tom is absolutely Radio Free Tom on Twitter. He wrote the book of The Death of Expertise. If you guys haven't read the book, do yourself a favor and go read it. Hit him up on Twitter. Radio Free Tom. Tom is awesome. He is one of those people that is an actual expert on, he teaches at Naval War College, an expert on Russian affairs, and did some time as a clerk, I think, or somebody, it was like something in the Senate or something like that. And he was, there's nothing quite like somebody going, oh, you're an expert on Russian affairs. Well, let me tell you what I think. And he's like, it's surreal. And I had to have him on the show because, for two reasons. One, the first time we had him, it was on national security issues, right? So we were talking about that in 2017 when NatSec suddenly became like the thing to go talk about. But The Death of Expertise was a book that I went through, and I was like, I'm thinking to myself, this is cyber. Like, this is the world we live in. Every talking head always knows. And I'm sorry to dredge up an old issue that's potentially painful for people, but like when that airplane disappeared, right? Was it MH370 or whatever?
Right.
Suddenly, anybody that's ever seen an airplane or taken a flight was like, I know what happened. It's got to be bleh. And you just sort of go, did we run out of actual experts? Did they have that guy or that gal or whatever? And that's a good one. I really, really enjoyed some of these. I don't know, man. It's kind of cool. I look at like on the right sidebar, I've got the archives, and like 2011. It's funny. We started doing this, and we published irregularly. I tried to get things out semi-regularly, but it's tough. And now we've had a pretty good cadence. Episode 19, I got to tell you, is one of those that you're like, why is this even in this series? Bob Arno, he was known as sorry, Bob, I'm sure you're still, I got to go check, but pretty sure you're still around. So it's not that you are. He was the world's foremost legal pickpocket. Okay. It was such an interesting episode. I had him on the show because at some point he did I think it was at HP at the time. Yeah, I was with HP, and he did some, a talk at some place. I was like, I have to get this dude on. He was cool as hell. Yeah, it's interesting. There's a little bit of security in there, but there's a lot of just like really cool. I wish I would have had video back then. Right. Because Bob was awesome. Oh man.
Yeah. Would have been nice having the video earlier, like getting that going, but the audio's been good. It's good, for people that are just listening in the car on their trip into work. Not many people doing that these days, but now the video takes over,
Well,
right?
I think we've got. It's funny, when COVID really hit, the lockdown hit. I was talking to James Azar yesterday, and we were just sort of chatting about podcasts and how the audience and all that. And I mentioned him like, man, the audience really took a bit of like a 20 some odd percent hit right around lockdown, and it makes sense, right? Because a lot of you guys listen on your drive in, as you wait in the line at TSA, um, on that flight, or whatever, on the train ride or commute or whatever, or at your desks. And when that went away, the time to go do that, and we appreciate you guys that you RSS and listen to this. But it's been really interesting. I tell you, um, I think we tried doing the ad thing once. I wasn't a fan, but I wanted to see if it would work, and I think we did it once, and kind of half-heartedly. Still not a fan. Probably will never do it again.
Right.
But this isn't a thing. Somebody asked me a while back, like, "Oh, so you're gonna, how do you make money on this?" I'm like, I like, this is, I never thought about it that way. This is just an educational. Uh, Todd's gonna slap me, but infotaining thing. And Todd, by the way, is the guy whose voice you hear doing the voiceover part at the beginning and at the end. Todd's good people, and that's been. Todd's got one of those voices in a world where Todd does the voiceovers. But that's been cool. We've kept. I can't remember when, how long this song has been. Our intro song has been, but I can't tell you how many times I've gotten asked about it. It's Deep Down by Gabriel and Dresden featuring Winter Kills. And actually, at one point, I tweeted Josh Gabriel's like, "Hey, I'm using your track that I bought, and because you can use it to mix into to music. It's like I'm using it as an intro for the podcast." And I saved the tweet. I like screenshot it, and he's like, "Hey, love it. Keep love the show." Like, yes. one of my favorite artists is is excited or pretended to be. I don't care. It's good enough for me.
Right. At that point, it really doesn't matter,
right?
Does it?
Exactly. Whether he's excited for it or not, doesn't matter. So
yeah, I don't know. I think one of the nice things I like about the show is the fact that you can go out to the page. There's no like ads popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
There, you know what I mean? There's none of that stuff that's happening where you go to other sites, and you got to click through this and click through that. And it's a huge ordeal to be able to see stuff. I mean, I hate news sites that are like that, and the worst is you get those news sites that have those expanding banners at the top. So you get to the page, you scroll down, you're about to click on the headline, and then that banner scrolls. And everything goes down, and you click on something else.
Like I clicked on an ad. What? Dang it! Yeah.
It's nice not having that type of stuff or having to listen through it or anything like that.
So we had a really good episode a while back, and I know this has been a recurring topic. I've had Ann Johnson on the show. By the way, Ann's awesome. I'm trying to get her back on. We've had her on the show talking about this topic of like burning out, and Don Ray Hutchinson was on talking about the same thing recently. But episode 306, Brittany Hummertime joined me to talk about balancing family and career, because that was a good one. And I feel like July 2018 we weren't quite full scale, burnout. Oh, we were getting there. And some people were, but I feel like it wasn't a huge topic. So we talked through that. That's a great episode that I think, I think is worthwhile just to hear the perspective again. I am one of those weird people that every once in a while I'll just go back and just pick a random, go down that archives column, pick a random date, pick a random month, and just scroll and hit an episode. And just to, like, I'm one of those people, I hate the sound of my own voice, but I'll struggle through it just because I want to listen to some of that cool content that we had. Because some of this stuff really is actually pretty good. I'm pretty excited. It's actually pretty good.
That would be a good one to pull up, or like do again now after all the work from home and all that, like balance life and work, and just see, like how have things changed? Did it make things worse? Did it make things better? I mean, people are home now, right? Working all the time, but they're with their family all the time. How's that really affected things? Because I mean, you could assume that it's going to affect it in a negative way, like, oh, now I got too much family,
right?
Or it's all work and no play,
Makes
or I can't work because I have family around. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see kind of a difference after coming through something like this. What that had for an effect on burnout and that like work family balance that people are looking for.
Do you remember we skipped an episode at some point? Do you remember what episode it was?
No.
I want to say it was like 250 or something. We were supposed to do an episode just like this at one point, and we just skipped it. We went right over. And there was the actual number episode doesn't exist. I want to say it was like in the 250 maybe. Now because I'm now scrolling.
No, we have a 250.
Maybe not then. 150.
We need something that would actually show us. Yeah, we need a list of all these.
If only
it's
there
too
was
hard
a
to
list.
scroll down.
If only. Hey,
could you get on that?
By the way, if you're listening and you listen for that executive perspective, Jason Whitty was a phenomenal guest. If you have not listened to his episode, I think he was. Jason, don't get mad at me because I don't remember. I want to say not 200. Maybe 200. Let me see. I'm scrolling here. Scrolling. Accessing.
It's a lot of scrolling with 454 episodes on there.
No, that wasn't 200. It was something like that. Maybe 150. I don't know. It was a big number. It was a big number episode, like a big number. They were trying to get. Anyway, I'll tell you in a second. But it was a really good one. 196. Okay, I thought that was maybe not. I thought it was 200. 196. That one. If you ever wonder what the CISO's job is, according to Jason, it's to keep the board from being surprised. And I love that quote because it's so true in security, right? It's not to keep the company safe or secure because that's in the title. What are you actually there to do? Right. It's to keep surprises from showing up. And it's a kind of a stark almost 44-minute romp through what some of this stuff is, what it means at the executive level. And, if you've ever wondered like, what did how did that person do in their career? Well, go look him up on LinkedIn. He's kind of doing all right. As the CISO to one of the largest global banks ever. The guy knows what he's talking about. He was a great interview. He was fun. I'm really glad we've kept this format, James, where it's just like I get people we snag sometimes. We get them on the show and their PR people like, okay, give me the questions you want to ask and what kind of answers you're looking for. I'm like,
right.
I just want to say hi and see where it goes.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you, it's fantastic. I mean, we don't really talk about how we prep for shows and or how we don't prep for shows.
Because you generally don't.
Because we don't. It's interesting. I've gone back and forth through the years about this idea. I mean, should we have a prep sheet? Like, I feel like there should be some, but we don't. It's like, all right, we're just going to talk about what topic do you want to talk about, and let's just go. There's nothing scripted. There is anything like that. It's just natural flowing. Let's hit a topic. And it's funny is how many times have we gotten on a show where you're like, okay, the topic's going to be this, and then we don't cover anything like that.
18 seconds later, like, I have a better idea.
We're going to talk about AppSec, and then what was it when we had Jerry McGraw on recently? I feel like there was a whole different route that conversation was supposed to go.
Gary went straight out into AI. We were like,
Gary,
let's talk about the path we've taken in AppSec. And he's like, yeah, that sucked, but so AI now. And then we started talking about AI.
Yeah, let's talk about putting duct tape on stop signs so the cars can't read them.
Yeah, Also, I'm now very, very worried about self-driving anything. Because you should.
But well, it's great because it turns into. That was a fantastic conversation. I really enjoyed that conversation. It's a topic that we don't really dabble in that much, or at least I don't dabble in that much. So, to get that perspective, even though we went in like, oh, we're going to talk about AppSec, it's all this and all this stuff about how insecure this stuff is. And like, well, this is amazing, and it's like finding that diamond in the rough piece where you're thinking, oh, we're going to go this route. I never thought I'd go that route. And boom, you're like, wow, I wish I'd thought about that because this was a fantastic conversation.
I think that's the best part of the way that we I try to develop, look at somebody's persona, or look at who they are, what they've researched, what they've published, what they say, what they talk about, or what they're known for, and I use that as a starting point. And I think the fact that we're more Larry King and less like interview, right? We're not a news interview where we're trying to, all right, tell me about this thing. Right. Okay, next question. Tell me about this thing. It's like, that's not what this is. This is, I try to run this thing like a late night talk show where you just get on and we chat. It's fun. Right. I got to tell you, one of the more interesting episodes that I've referenced probably a dozen times, and it's happening more lately. The episode is called "The Ethics of Cybersecurity." Is a panel of roughly unnamed people. You'll recognize their voices, but I didn't name them out, call them out for a reason. But episode 322, that's back from November 15th, 2018. I feel like it was a lifetime ago, but that one was so good because we talked about, let me read this, moral relativism applied to cyber, law versus ethics. Hey, here's an interesting one, hacking back. Right. Suddenly when that was first, privateering, essentially when that started gaining traction. And of course, because, we haven't learned, we're back to that. Yay. I think yikes is more like it.
It all comes around, man. It's like the size of headphones. It all comes around. We go from we go from the boombox on the shoulder to big headphones, down to little teeny AirPods, and now we're back up to big. It won't be long. We'll have the boombox on the shoulder again. Like that's where we're headed.
I don't know how we got there, but that's an interesting prediction. You heard it here first. James says we're going back to the boombox on the shoulder.
We're going back. Same thing though with the topics that we have here. We went around and now it's swinging back in full force. That's one of those that never goes away.
Yeah.
I remember I was going through, and this was years ago, probably around that same time. I was actually going through the FBI Citizens Academy.
Oh, that's fun.
And some people in there with us actually asked the FBI people, like, hey, what about hacking back? What do you think about that? They were pretty against it.
As anybody sane should be.
Yes. They were like, no.
Yeah, please don't go randomly shooting back virtually, of course, at things that you think are attacking you. Like there's a very small number of government employees that are qualified and have enough intelligence, and I use that term as a not like smarts, but like actual intelligence data to do that accurately without causing major catastrophes, and even fewer companies that are in that know. Private citizens doing so is, let me state, is an unequivocally idiotic idea. Although, let's be clear, James, the government has got the monopoly on idiotic ideas lately, and we are just like, this shit show is just starting to roll great.
Yeah. There's no doubt there. Wait, are you telling me though that the hackers, they're not hacking from their box, from their own IP address that they can?
What? Get out of here. Yes, that's exactly what's happening. Wink, wink.
Right. It reminds me that conversation we had with the State Department guy. The one remember he talked about, I think it was him, talking about sending letters. And they're like, oh, it used to be they would send it in the mail, and if you got really lucky, they'd put the return address on it. Like, I think that's what people think is happening when it's like, hack back. Okay, great. We'll hack back. Oh, they sent me their IP address. That must be the person.
Well, because, duh, must be. It must be.
I didn't drive to the next town over to drop it in that mailbox. I put it in my own mailbox and sent it out.
Exactly. Right. The guy the guy that was sending anthrax was clearly doing it from his own mailbox, because you know what? But some people really are that stupid. So let's not go ahead. Let's not discredit
it's true
the amount of stupidity out there, because bad guys aren't like necessarily don't have the monopoly on being criminal masterminds, right? Like I think there's a little bit of Dr. Evil going on out there. Probably for every actual criminal mastermind, there's a couple of Dr. Evils running around going,
yeah.
So
it's funny, we talked about 2016 when we think currently ransomware being a huge thing. Back in 2016, we talked about Ransomware Economy.
When was that? What's the date on that one?
I don't remember the exact date. The episode was 208. Okay. And, it's just interesting. I mean, 5 years ago we were talking about the economy of ransomware and how these gangs are built up. And, it's not just one person sitting there writing this stuff. I mean, it's a whole corporation doing this. And here we are. Yeah. Ransomware is still a thing. And, we're maybe going to write a outlawed or something. I don't know. I thought it was already outlawed. I'm not sure.
I don't know. There's so many good conversations yet to be had. I'm experimenting with the platform I use now. I was talking to Azar and he's going somewhere else with it. I may end up moving it. So hopefully the RSS comes with me, which let's not blow things up. Because suddenly we're down to one listener, like, yeah, yikes. But yeah, we'll see, man. This has been fun reminiscing, and as we post this, I'm looking forward to 500, and God only knows what we're going to get into in the next 50 and the next 100.
Yeah,
I don't know. How long do you think we can keep this up, man?
As long as the internet exists,
As long as I've got air left in these lungs, I shall do it. No, I mean, look, you guys listen. Right. We'll keep doing it.
I don't see it going anywhere. I mean, like I said, I look at these topics from 2013. They're the same topics we're talking about now, maybe with a little bit different spin on them. But, there's lessons to be learned still, whether it was back then, whether it's now. Things are changing as far as laws being created or executive orders being thrown out there to fix the world. I mean, there's stuff happening. Question is it in the right path? Is it in the wrong path? That's yet to be seen, but it's definitely interesting to see how things are changing within corporate environments. I didn't write it down, but, zero trust, we listed out years ago talking about. Now it's the new, everything's zero trust, and you still have just like, I'm not going to say it. I said it in the last episode, so I'm not going to say it in this one, but we've got some ops.
Yeah. Thank you.
Groups out there.
Thank you. I didn't want to have to cut your mic again.
We got some ops groups out there, right? Like we got this stuff that's out there and it's like, what do we really got going on here? So, there's a lot of stuff that is changing, is SQL injection fully gone? No. Do people still breach firewalls? Yes. But are the tactics changing a little bit?
Of course they have.
Yeah, maybe. Are we getting better at defense? I think there's a lot of people that would say no, but I think we're
getting better. I think the criminals are also getting better. So,
right.
It's the arms race.
Well, that's continues. The thing, right? As we're improving, they change their tactics. This is how it works. It's worked with bank robberies. It's worked with everything. You start adding controls, they start breaking those controls. Like it's the cat and mouse game that we know we're going to be playing.
So we're not done yet. All right, that's a good place to end it, man. I don't want to keep people too long, but thanks for listening, you guys. Thanks for listening to all these episodes, subscribing and retweeting and leaving us comments and sharing with your friends. I don't do ads. We don't try to do any kind of marketing for this, although I might start because I'd like to reach a bigger audience. But feel free to, share with your coworkers, your family, your friends, annoying people on the bus, pull out that boom box, crank it up, make them listen to our voices. It'd be funny. But anyway, it's been good, James. Let's do it again.
And just remember, We're experts.
That is a noteworthy place to end this podcast. Trust us, we're experts.
That's right.
If you're not watching the video, I air quoted that for you, as we're all experts. And on that note, thanks for listening, James. Always a pleasure. Good. We'll see you. We'll do this again.
Yeah, you bet. Another 500.
Here's another. Yeah, right. Woo boy. Thanks for listening, you guys. We'll catch you guys another time, another place on another Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast, where we will try to do this all over again. Take care. Bye-bye.
As we fade out on another Down the Security Rabbit Hole episode, we'd like to encourage you to chat with our hosts and guests using the Twitter hashtag #DtSR. Please check out the show notes, catch up on any episodes you may have missed, and subscribe so you don't miss a future episode. Our website is whiterabbit.net, WH1T3RABBIT.net. So on behalf of Rafal, James, for now it's goodbye. We'll see you soon on another Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast.